Greetings, everyone. Welcome to New Thought Talk Show, where we give you new insight and perhaps a new thought on things that are current in our society today. Now, today our topic, something that is near and dear to me, why are there so many single professional black women? We just cannot seem to find a man. That ain't funny. So, brothers, we have myself, a single professional black woman, and I don't have a man. We have this young man right here, Terrence Fisher. He got somebody. He's single, but he got somebody. And then we have Edwin Brown, married. That means he sure enough got somebody. So these two black men are spoken for while I am yet single. Let's get into the discussion. T, talk.
Y'all bitching him on too much.
He didn't say that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, listen. I said that jokingly, but there is, I think, a common sort of misnomer of labeling women that way. Of black women, that all you guys do is, excuse the French again, but bitch, moan, and complain. All you do is fuss.
That's not true.
Well, I'm just saying what the stereotype is. So, I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it. I agree that it's not true, but I mean, when you're exposed to reality TV, when you see, all you see is these reality TV shows where black women, professional black women supposedly, are, you know, the Real Housewives of whatever city. That's all they're doing. They're fighting, they're moaning, they're complaining about some particular thing. That's all
wait
you see.
Wait a minute. That is not isolated to black women.
I
They have
agree.
Real Housewives of Orange County and all these other places where they're doing the same thing.
I agree.
So why are we then ostracized and labeled the angry black woman because of what you simply see on TV when we're so much more than that? And I think that we're minimized to a little box, and that's not where we belong.
Agreed. I do agree. I think part of it is that culture that we live in too, though. Even before all of these shows, all of the Real Housewives, and all of these other shows that all you have is conflict on with African American women. It's also the other TV shows now that people are watching, like Empire and all of that kind of stuff. It's all a part of those shows too. But even before all of that, I think this was a stereotype that happened just in our culture, in the black community, before even all of that happened. So, and I think it did come from at a time where, women were starting to, black women that we're talking about, were starting to become more educated. They started to start playing different roles in their household. A lot of them start playing the role of the father and the mother.
No, you know what? Let me just say this. There is no way possible for a mother to play the role of the father.
Well, I'm not saying okay. That's
but people
fine.
are always saying that, and these Mother's Day, Father's Day,
but they tried. They tried, and that's the whole thing.
Well, but you have to give them a little credit. Because they have to do what they got to do.
Take the credit.
You know what I mean, they have to do what they got to do. But I would, at this point, I would have to, on that question, point out the black man as partially the problem.
Partially.
Yeah, because, we don't, in our culture, we shame or we frown down on educated people. So it's not cool to go out and go to college and get your education and start a business or whatever it is and become successful. When you go back to your people, they look at you like, oh, you made it out. You ain't like us no more. You one of them coon, stuff like that. But
that's not my
circle. But that's the people that's in our circle.
That's not my circle. I just said that.
I'm seriously. Those people are out there. You may not be in direct connect to them, but
that has contributed to the stereotype.
So
for sure,
people ain't raising their children to say, "Hey, get your education. You should do this. You should do that. I know your environment out there is bad, but you can do it."
Did you just say they ain't raising? But go on.
I'm saying.
They are not.
Okay.
There it is, folks. Have correct English.
I'm educated. I can speak the King's English.
All right.
But they that's not a. It's a in some homes. I mean, there is a priority on it, but it's not one of those things that we're doing in mass. You know,
I'm gonna have to disagree because African American women have the highest percentage of those who are being educated in with secondary degrees. Some of them have masters, and we are the most educated group of people. That's higher than white women, higher than black men, higher than white men. Black women are empowering themselves with education, but at the same time being penalized for getting that education.
Well, I mean,
but
that's good.
Yeah, what I was getting at is it's not necessarily. I'm speaking on the women. I'm talking about the men. You know, we're growing up in this culture where we want to look cool. We want to be with the fellas,
Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of stuff. You know, people get caught up in gang violence and all this other stuff, and get caught and get charges, and then they can't do nothing. I mean, these guys on Facebook now complaining that they can't find jobs and this and that because they got charges. They got felony charges, and you know, like, well, I mean, you put yourself in that position, and because I mean, I know they were doing things like that when they were young, but I mean, that's the stuff you have to deal with. I mean, so now we have these black men out there that aren't getting educated, and they can't compete with these women now that are out getting their education and moving themselves up. So when you pull someone, trying to pull someone up to what you say your level is, it's kind of hard to work with because you have a man who's a man doesn't like the fact that you are better than him in that regard, where he depends on you versus you depending on him, and that makes a little bit of an unbalance of things.
I think it all comes down to what you're saying though. All comes down to the perception of these type of stereotypes that we have to work to change.
Yeah.
Because I think it's as long as we live by that whole a woman is supposed to submit type of thing. When you get into a situation where a woman is making more money than a man, that's if he thinks that whole he's supposed to be the head of the household, which I'm not talking against. I'm saying, but if he has this perception that a woman is supposed to be a certain way, she's supposed to make less money. That's because that's a status. That's a thing of status and power about who makes the most money.
Right.
So if the woman is making more money in the household, then that can, for a man who thinks that he's the one that's supposed to be making the most money, that can be disempowering to him.
Yes.
And that's one of the worst things that you can do to a man, to make him feel disempowered.
But that's happening in their own mind.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean,
absolutely.
If you're doing what you do and you do it well, okay, and I feel safe and secure with you, then the matter of money is not going to be the end-all, be-all. Now, you have to carry your weight. You're going to have to pay for something. You're not going to just lay up on the couch and watch soaps all day.
But
that's not happening.
But I have to be the devil's advocate here on some of that. You know,
Here we go.
A lot of educated women have an arrogance, you know, when it comes to relationships. And they feel like, well, I don't need no man. You don't have to be here, you know. There's some arrogance there.
Okay, I can see that may be the case, but it's not maybe needing a man, but you desire one. And I'm inclined to believe that we do need a helpmeet. That's what I believe. We were not designed to be alone. And so in that, we are alone, and it goes against our nature, our design. We're supposed to be together as a unit, but we constantly fight each other on so many different points. So would you be okay if your wife made more money than you?
I would be okay with it.
Okay, so would you be?
I'd be absolutely okay with it. Trust me. Look, to me, money is not empowering. It's not. At least for me, money has never been the be all end all. That's not a thing. As long as if we're together, if we're one, as long as our household is being supported by whomever, and we're both okay, we both don't take issue with whatever way that's happening, then how it happens is of little relevance to me.
But so here's the key: you're both educated men. You see the difference? So if there's a blue collar worker, perhaps he went the GED route, but he's working out in the oil refinery. He's making good money, but perhaps he can't articulate in the way that this woman would want.
Sure.
So would that make him then not feel like a man?
Well, I mean, now you're talking about personal, interpersonal relationship issues, to where there are certain things to where. It's a lot of times it's not all what you say, it's how you say it.
Well, that's most times.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. So with the man, there's a way that you can tell a man or you can ask something of a man. There's a way that you can get your point across without making him feel disempowered.
Yeah, just
Or-
rub his back or his leg.
Or whatever the case is for your individual relationship. Yeah. So I think those are the things that we have to work more towards versus sticking with this stereotype, because what happens mostly is I think that stereotype of the whole bitching and moaning and complaining thing comes from women actually doing that on a consistent basis. I mean, it really, I mean, and it's
have to do it.
But
Well,
here's
having
that,
have to do
let's
it.
talk about
Exactly.
that. Why do I
Exactly.
have to ask you to do things that is expected already? Like I mean,
Because
things,
people are different. Everybody is different. It's when we went to college for the first time, and maybe a lot of you guys can attest to this. We got a roommate that we've never met for the first time when we were living on campus. Immediately, you had to learn how to live with somebody else.
right?
And usually the problems come in when, somebody's gone in your refrigerator and stole your drink. Your roommate is drinking, or we could tell some stories about.
Christmas treat. No,
Man, he and I could tell some roommate stories. Like, we got some, but like, it's usually stuff like that happens instead of trying to iron things out in the beginning and saying, hey, this is what I expect of you, and this is what, you let me know what you expect of me. You can iron things, and that doesn't necessarily mean everything is going to go smooth, but at least you have some sort of expectation. And then when you get to a juncture where there's some type of disagreement or misunderstanding, you can agree on how to deal with that kind of stuff too. Okay, hey, if we have some issues that come up in our room where, you stand up playing music all night and I'm ready to go to sleep, how are we going to deal with that?
And then
I
what
get
you're
that.
It's the
pointing-
same thing with the
Yeah,
relationship.
and what you're hitting on is communication.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Communication
key.
is we all say that's the most important part of a relationship, but a lot of us don't know how to communicate.
Absolutely.
And
Oh, we're
this
speaking different love
Yeah,
languages,
this-
and that's
It's not necessarily love languages. I mean, it comes from how you were raised, how communication between your parents and you kind of learn those things from your environment. And a lot of people, how they communicate anger is by yelling or hitting you, physical stuff.
Sure.
And versus, hey, I really don't like what you did. I think we should talk about it. A lot of people haven't seen that type of communication. you know.
Right.
So they don't go to it inherently. So they just do what they know. They yell and complain and whatever it is they do.
well. Okay, wait a minute. So all this may be true. Here's my concern, though. Again, from a professional black woman's point of view, so many professional black men don't want us. They prefer others.
Agreed. And check this out, guys. We want you guys to check out this clip of what we're talking about here. There's this common thing that's starting to happen among the black men in our black communities, where they're going outside of our country and therefore outside of the black race to search for a different type of women. So check this out.
I don't want to say that it's that bad. I mean, me personally, I love my beautiful black sisters.
Yeah, right. I agree with that.
I agree. And part of the reason why I'm here is because I love my beautiful black sisters here too.
Exactly.
I mean, they beautiful. But there is a cultural difference, not just in Brazil compared to the United States. It's around the world. There is a difference in the way that women around the world look towards relationships with not just black men, but any man.
Yes.
The system that we have in the United States, the way the society is run, it's different. As far as I'm concerned, it teaches women that they don't need to be in a relationship with a man, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Latin, no matter what color you are. That's just the way that I see it. And I enjoy traveling to different countries around the world and dealing with sisters that don't have the same hang-ups that society gives the women in the United States.